I've been making these videos for a year, so this video is a review, a reflection on all of that. I've been finishing off a project which is the result of these videos, and I will explain more about that at the end. It's basically a kind of a book. I've kind of written a book. I'll explain. First of all, this journey, it started out me wondering what to do next, having left my particular faith and religion and institution, and wondering whether I should just not have a thing or whether there was something else. I'm still not entirely decided on that, but I'm a lot further on, and a lot of that is to do with YouTubing. I do want people to watch these videos, of course I do. The thinking out loud has definitely been the main thing. I mean, I've loved the comments, including the bonkers ones. I've loved reading them and I've enjoyed them, and some great conversations. I ended up reading a book with somebody wonderful near the beginning of all of this. I've connected with people I haven't in ages through this. I've met new people. I've had book recommendations that have been really, really helpful. And I've also resolved really where I'm going in terms of, at the moment, my journey, which is Navayana. Well, it's liberation Buddhism. I think Navayana Buddhism is my inspiration. It's the thing that grounds me. It's the thing that gives me the corset that kind of holds me together and holds me in. And within that, just being free to explore and be, and, so I've discovered the wonders of Tai Chi recently, and that's not particularly Navayana, but as somebody who struggles to sit down, from Zen meditation of the different kinds, apart from walking Zen, is difficult. Tai Chi is a wonderful way I found to find focus. And in the process of discovering and exploring Navayana Buddhism, by the way, so part of this is I knew about Ambedkar years and years ago, Ambedkar, the founder of the Navayana Buddhist movement, through my PhD in Indian liberation theology and Christian anarchism. So I've written about and I've talked about and I've read about Ambedkar, and it just occurred to me in the process of this that here is a Buddhism which doesn't require you to believe 1,000 miracles before breakfast, or whatever the phrase is, and doesn't require particular theatre of faith, but gives space for story and spirituality and richness and social justice, not as though they are two separate, that spirituality and social justice are separate things, but they need and require one another, that your journey of personal and spiritual liberation is impossible without your journey of solidarity. And I love that. There's things I could be critical of Ambedkar and Navayana Buddhism about. I mean, but that feels a bit rich. The guy had a brain the size of a planet and committed his life to actively serving and supporting other people. So he's amazing, more than I could ever possibly be. But there's things about his Buddhism that I wonder about, but I don't need to believe it all. And Ambedkar never encouraged everyone to swallow everything he thought. But in the process, and this is the project I've been working on, I bought a book by Ambedkar called The Buddha and His Dhamma. Here it is. And so I bought this version. I bought two versions of the same book. This one I bought because it was cheaper. Basically, the Buddha was challenged that Ambedkar was challenged that within Buddhism, there are so many scriptures and traditions, thousands and thousands. Where do you start and how do you get in? It's too intimidating. And Ambedkar felt that you need a Bible, like the Christians have a Bible. He's not the only person to take this approach, but that's what he felt. And so he wrote The Buddha and His Dhamma, which was not published until soon after he died. And so this book is out of copyright, which is relevant to what I'm about to say. And it's over 80,000 words, and there's lots of words in Pali. He throws in words in Pali, some of which you need because you need them to understand other books on Buddhism. But many of them, I'm like, why didn't you just translate that into English? This book is in English. Just translate all of that, right? Anyway, this book's okay, but there's no commentary really, and there are no footnotes, and the way it's typed out is really difficult to read, and it's full of typos, which is frustrating to read. It's badly laid out. It's got typos in it, and there's very little explanation of anything. But it's the cheaper of the two versions because the other version I bought, which is amazing and fantastic, edited by Akash Singh Rathore and AJ Verma, this book. I'll put both of these in the comments. This book is a critical edition, and it's got a really helpful introduction. It's got loads of footnotes that explain the sources that Ambedkar would have used, and it's properly formatted and it's easier to read. It got rid of all that Ambedkar put in like verses, to make it look like a Bible, but that's not helpful, not remotely helpful. It's not that kind of book. It's a book with a big, long version of the story of the life of the Buddha, and then Ambedkar's interpretation of the Buddha's teachings in a social justice-oriented, liberationist, and non-mystical, non-supernatural way. So it's great, but it's still over 80,000 words and very expensive. So what I wanted to do was to distill that into something that I would read more often. I mean, I've read it all the way through, don't get me wrong, several times over. I would have had to do this. But I wanted something I could just refer to, dip in and out of, that wasn't so wordy. I think it was written for an audience that was more patient than we are. So what I did was I distilled it, and I removed most of the Pali words, as in I replaced them with an English translation of those words. I kept some. I kept the ones that I felt, for any reader, you need to know those words, but where I did, I've explained them, or I've put them in a glossary. So I put a glossary in that wasn't there before. I've removed as many technical Pali words as possible without losing the usefulness of reading those. And I've reduced it to about 10,000 words, just shy. So this, which I've just stuck up on KDP, is I have to legally put my name on it, but the way I've done it, the title is his name, because it's his book, but I've distilled it to less than 10,000 words. I've tried to keep the tone, I've kept the structure while losing some of the chapters and kind of putting them all into one. So this is the Buddha and his Dhamma, and it's, I hope, nicely formatted. I think I've probably made the margins too big, but you can read it in like a couple of hours, I guess, and I find this useful, and I did it for me. And if you want to read it, then you can read it as well. And that's part of the result of this year of YouTubing, really, has been doing that. Finding a way to find something that can help me, which is I read a little bit most days on Buddhism. I spend some time in mindful meditation, and I try and think about how the Eightfold Path might be turned into habits that I live. And for the moment, that's enough.